guys? What is up? Welcome. Make sure you guys can hear me okay. I'm changing a bunch of stuff, so didn't think this would take as long. Sorry for the delay. But you guys should be able to hear me. Happy Monday. I mean Saturday. I mean Friday. Thank you there for joining Bowl Cut Lineup. Making sure we all good. We can hear? Okay. Can we hear? All right. I'm transferring everything over to one of my new laptops. So, you guys, first of all, I want to say, have you seen the Alan Jackson affidavit? The Alan Jackson affidavit came out after I had put out on the airways that Matt McCabe arrives at 34 Fairview and takes the phone from Jennifer McCabe, her phone. And lo and behold, in Alan Jackson's affidavit, there is a police report written up by Tully. Okay, written up by Tully, where this is informing everybody about having that meeting with Jennifer McCabe right before she testifies. And so in Alan Jackson's affidavit, he includes this written up police report. And I about hit the floor because it is 100% basically validating my work when they turn over, and I will read it for you guys. Hold on, get all this crap. I had this all laid out perfectly. God, Alan Jackson has so many black pages in here. Here it is. May 29th, 2024. Tully writes up this. So it's during the trial. On May 10th, 2024, Jennifer and Matthew McCabe arrive at the office of the Norfolk District Attorney's Office. Jennifer was provided a copy of her grand jury testimony regarding the Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. Matthew was provided a copy of his testimony. They read the transcripts in a conference room and returned the documents. Number 2, drum roll, please. Jennifer requested to listen to her 911 call to the Canton police on January 29, 2022. I played the audio file. Jennifer and Matthew requested to watch the Canton police cruiser camera video that depicts them both on the morning of January 29th, 2022. The cruisers. There's cruisers with those dash cams. And here Matthew McCabe is asking to see the cruiser, the dash cam that depicts him and Jennifer McCabe, because he wants to see what can be seen on that, because he takes her phone, ladies and gentlemen. Also, the time frame that he shows up, I went back and listened to Nicholas Guerrero's testimony last night, and I was determined to find it, and I did find it because I wanted to know why Massachusetts State Police are saying that John O'Keefe's phone starts to move, okay, at 6:15 and not 6:04, okay? And we're going to get into that. We're going to get so into that because John O'Keefe's phone that the Massachusetts State Police wants to say that begins moving at 6:15 and 52 seconds coincides with none other than Matt McCabe and his movements arriving on scene and grabbing Jennifer's phone, because Jennifer doesn't know that Matty Poo Patty did what he did, and he knew that he had to cover up that little Google search. So now, again, Matt McCabe requested on May 10th, 2024, Matty Bobatti, Jennifer and Matty requested to watch the Canton police cruiser camera video that depicts them both on the morning of January 29th, 2022. I played the portion of the cruiser camera that depicts the McCabes on that date. Yeah, I proved that in my last video. That's exactly what he does. Okay, so we'll go ahead and I will just wanted to start you guys off with that. Here, never even saw Alan Jackson's affidavit, never even knew that this report existed, okay? And I called this out and said, this is exactly what happened, and that Matty was up in that bitch. And here, lo and behold, Matt and Jennifer wanted to see this cruiser, the dash cam. Why would you need to see that? Why would you need to see that and ask to even view that if you're Jennifer McCabe and Matt McCabe? Now, how does this help? There's something that's called impeachment in law. And when you testify, okay, as the defense has so eloquently stated, that the credibility of Jennifer McCabe and these other witnesses are very, 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 I mean, Jennifer McCabe and Matt McCabe's testimony as far as credibility goes, because they're saying Karen Reed was saying things in the morning, okay? And I'm proving a way for the defense to show that that's impossible for Matt to have heard anything from his bedroom, laying in bed, being woken up. I'm dismantling piece by piece Jennifer and Matt for trial 2. Matt wasn't at the scene that morning. What time are you referring to? That's the thing is, yes, he was. We're good. Have you seen my last couple of videos there? Little Rose by Better Row. So yes, Matt McCabe was at the scene that morning. And so if you go to Alan Jackson, he just filed this affidavit that's mostly blacked out, okay? But a couple of them, he does show this police report, which is memorializing how Tully and Lally, and they had Jen come in, and this was during the trial, but it was a couple weeks before her testimony. But something that was very interesting is the number 2. It says, Jennifer listened to her 911 call. I played the audio file. Then Jennifer and Matt requested to watch the Canton police cruiser camera video that depicts them both on the morning of January 29, 2022. I played the portion of the cruiser camera that depicts the McCabes on that date. Sorry, I haven't been, but I'm interested now. Oh my God, you haven't seen these bombs I'm dropping over here, girl? Woo! Look out. So in case you guys aren't aware, but I proved through the data that Jennifer McCabe did not do the Google search "house long to die." It was Matt McCabe using Jennifer's phone. Jennifer was upstairs. Okay. He was downstairs with the phone. And then he arrives at the scene the next morning, way earlier than he ever said. He takes the phone from Jen, and I'm able to prove this because the watch that she's wearing isn't moving, and she is the watch. When her phone is moving. And it's at the same exact time, this pass off that happens is at the same exact time at 6:17 and 50 seconds to 6:26 and 30 seconds. During that time frame is when she's not moving, Jennifer McCabe's not moving. The phone, though, is, and that's when the house long to die in the cold was double searched again to cover up for the 2:27 one, as well as when Brian Albert's phone call from Jennifer McCabe's phone was made at 6:23, as well as a very important phone call at 6:35 is when Jennifer's phone calls Matt's phone, but it's Matt calling himself to create that. And how I'm able to prove that is because that phone call lasts 19 seconds and Jennifer McCabe is inside the residence at 34 Fairview. And 10 seconds after she gets off this alleged phone call with her husband for 19 seconds, she goes up a flight of stairs to go upstairs. And the watch registers the flight, but the phone doesn't. Take that to town, pow, pow. So what I'm proving is that I've been proving a lot with the data, and it's going to help because these lies that are being said on the stand, the most important lies are when people are able to say that I heard Karen say this because I was in the presence of the phone, or I was, Jennifer McCabe did not Google house long to die at 2:27 and 40 seconds. She was upstairs. Her watch goes upstairs. Okay. Her phone doesn't. She then is stationary for 7 to 9 minutes. And during then that time frame when her watch is stationary, meaning like she's stationary, the phone begins to move downstairs. And during that time when the watch wearer wasn't moving, the phone's moving, which is impossible. But the only way that it is possible is if the person that's not the watch wearer is walking with the phone, which is exactly what Matt did. And he takes it out after she goes upstairs within 20 seconds, takes it out of the drawer, and then he starts going to town. He's a piece of shit. And what's crazy is the house long to die, you guys, was 100% Googled on Jennifer McCabe's phone. But Jennifer McCabe was not the Google searcher. And if you read Green's affidavit, he's very specific when he says it. He said the user of that phone did this. He didn't say Jennifer McCabe did it. Because that's how anybody that would talk that is a expert, because you have to talk in devices. Karen, 20 gifted memberships. So I am just taking the work that has been done and adding to it in terms of like, let's really show how they're all lying. And Matt McCabe knows and did all this stuff because Matt McCabe knew what happened to John, witnessed what happened to John, was part of what happened to John. Jennifer McCabe adopted Matt's story, okay, after the fact, because Fatty Matty and them had to come clean eventually here. But when Jennifer and the rest of the people are saying that they never saw John O'Keefe arrive and they never saw his body on the lawn, that's all accurate. Because I'm going to read you guys in another live, my Sunday Night Boom live, how I see that this could have all played out based on the data and how this will completely wipe out. Then you're able to show why somebody else would be using somebody's phone is because they never thought that Jennifer McCabe's phone would ever be taken. But there was a thought that Matt's phone could be taken because Matt and Brian Higgins were the last ones with John O'Keefe. Okay. But they never thought that, and then they never thought that Jennifer would get in, but we'll get into all that. Thank you there, Karen. Yuri's math teacher. Re-upping on that. Karen, $999.99. Cheers. So, but when you look at the data, it's woo. Your Matt McCabe story is growing legs. Awesome job. Oh, it's going to grow a ton of legs. It's the truth. It's the data. And the best part about it is it has roped in, because Matt's testimony is really, really damaging to Karen Reed. When a jury has to listen to a guy that supposedly should have no, skin in the game, he's laying in bed, right? Well, no, actually, if you were laying in bed, that phone was downstairs, so you wouldn't have heard a damn thing. But then I'm able to prove that the phone starts walking and moving at 4:55 in the morning without the watch wearer. And no, she didn't take it off. It's on the whole night because she gets up twice for like 10-second periods to go pee. Or I think the one time she got up, she went and looking for Matt because he wasn't in bed. We'll get to that though, baby. I love it. Love it. But let's get into this. Also, what ends up having, I'm telling you, the Alan Jackson affidavit is just like literally validating and solidifying this work. They never thought to look and compare. I isolated the iPhone and the watch. And the watch is like, you want to use Guerrero's testimony against them. So he said, when you're wearing a watch, the accuracy is just, it's night and day compared to just your phone. Because as everybody knows, you put down our phone and then we go over to the kitchen, we may wash the dishes, then we go to the bathroom. But here my phone just sat on the kitchen table the whole time I did that. Where my watch, everywhere I'm going and everything I'm doing, my watch is basically monitoring me like an ankle monitor. Okay. So I will tell you exactly what happened with John O'Keefe's phone there. What is amazing is that Matt McCabe being, I always said to myself, Matt's the type of dude. Every day and twice on Sunday, he would have gotten that vehicle with Karen Reed and Jen McCabe to go out doing whatever, to go searching for John, okay? That dude is like a girl, okay? So I don't want you to think like a girl here. And there is no way that he is not getting in the vehicle to go search for John at 5:38, okay? Unless something else needs his attention and desperately, okay? Because Matt, this whole time, he's been the one to always get in front of everything. And so when he's the one that truly knows, he's the IT guy. He truly knows what happened to John, when they moved his body, when they placed him. And, but for him not to get in that car with Karen and Jen, all right, and he is then going to be doing something else, okay? And that something else is come on Sunday. We'll talk about it. Okay. But let's get into this. Truth and transparency and microdots. Love microdots. You guys, Turtleboy, love him. I can go shot for shot, drink for drink with that dude. Love his passion. If it wasn't for Turtleboy, I'm telling you, this whole case would be just like every other case that corruption has prevailed. Everybody that has come together, because there's so many people, when you want to take down, it's like David versus Goliath, okay? You're trying to take down Goliath. And the way that you take down something like that is you come together and you put people together that all have strengths and they work together like a unit, and then you just dismantle the fuck out of it. And so I'm big on the whole, hey, like, go get this person because they're the best at that. Then go get this person because they, hey, have them working on that, do this, do that. And so when you do that and you put people in their wheelhouse, you're unstoppable. That's why teams beat individuals in sports. Okay. So, and I played 2 Division I sports at the University of Cincinnati, highly competitive. I don't know how to lose. It's not in my DNA. And those are just games. These motherfuckers want to play with people's lives. Okay. They took athletics and then like, okay, well, we got bored playing athletics. Now let's play with people's lives. And that to me is the sickest shit. And it's going on in Indiana. It's going on in Massachusetts over here. It's going on in Jacksonville. It's going on in Idaho. And it goes on everywhere, you know? And so I'm just, you know, the House Long to Die Google happened, but it happened and the Googler was Matt McCabe. It's going to come all out. I promise. Karen, thank you again so much for always supporting me and the channel, the content, and being in chat. It's people like you that get me grinding, girl. But yeah, let a rose, better rose. I just wanted a little rant off for you. Hopefully you appreciated it. All right. Here we go. Now, my thoughts on this lovely piece. So we all went through the dismissal. Now, let's see what the Commonwealth wants to say. So the Commonwealth is obviously going to dispute any ethical violations or misconduct, let alone misconduct that taints, I love that word, taint, the legal system or infringes upon the defendant's right to a fair trial. The defendant's motion should be denied. Okay. And dismissal as a sanction is a very strong medicine, and it should be prescribed only when the government's misconduct is so intentional and so egregious and appropriate only upon a showing of irremediable harm to the defendant's opportunity to obtain a fair trial. And so that is good old Hank, and he is citing case law there. To the extent the defendant has suggested that egregious circumstances might warrant dismissal, the Supreme Judicial Court has noted that we have never dismissed charges in such circumstances in the absence of prejudice. Commonwealth v. Mason. Judicial responses should be limited to truly remedial and not punitive measures. Hines. Now, the Commonwealth does not dispute its prosecutorial obligations and constitutional duty to disclose in a timely manner material exculpatory evidence over which it possesses custody and control. So that's Brady, Maryland, obviously. Nor does the Commonwealth dispute its broad obligations to inquire and disclose any facts that would tend to exculpate the defendant or diminish her culpability. This is interesting to me because the Commonwealth, they're going to dispute its, nor does the Commonwealth dispute its broad obligations to inquire and disclose any facts. For me, they should have inquired about the phones and the movements of the people that the defense was questioning back then. Because if you just go and get those items, okay, bury the dog in terms of bury what they're saying. Bury what you say you have Jennifer or Karen Reed by the tits. Get those phone records and bury this little conspiracy that has been put up against your DA's office and your police departments, right? So right there, I think that that's just laughable. Because I could tell you this, if you're basically accusing my people, if I was running that place, of conspiring with citizens to not only cover up what they did, but then frame a mofo, I'm going to shut that down. And I'm not going to shut it down by objecting to the material. Okay, I'm going to shut it down by proving that the material does not prove what they're saying, right? So, interesting. Because they objected to that. So had they not objected back in the day and stipulated with Alan Jackson and Yannetti for them to go and get the third-party telephones, then where would we be right now today? However, to prevail on a claim that Presco failed to disclose exculpatory evidence, the defense or the defendant must first prove that the evidence was in fact exculpatory. Okay. What I'm basically showing you guys with the whole Matt stuff, okay, if Matt in fact made the Google searches and then did the Google search in the that next morning, right, then Jennifer McCabe saying on the stand and saying to the police before she got on the stand that your client, at your client's request, I Google searched that. Do you understand? This is when people say, like, what does it matter? I'm like, I guess you don't get it, so I'll break it so way down. This will give the defense the biggest opportunity to say that Karen Reed never said that to Jennifer, and Jennifer never Googled it. Matt did, because Matt made the Google search the night before, and whoever he had talked to, and that's why he didn't ride with him at 5:38, he knew that he needed to do one thing, which we'll talk about on a Sunday, but more importantly, he had to make it not like so nonchalant and frame Karen Reed at the same time. Okay. So the words that Jennifer McCabe said that you're going to be able to dismantle is that she says, no, Mr. Jackson, it was at the request of your client that I Googled that. Hypothermia, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, guess what? If you show that that's not accurate, then you're showing the cover up. You're showing the cover up. You're showing Karen Reed and Jen were sitting down with a trooper at the time that Jennifer McCabe did not have her cell phone, because her cell phone was in the hands of her husband, who she passed it off to. Because her husband was being so sneaky as to say like that he just showed up, and he was just telling her, meaning Sugar Tits Jen, I just came out looking, I went out saying I'm going to go look for John. We'll split up. Okay. Because that's what would make sense to me. Okay, here, you go with her, go back to the house. I'll go over and I'll start looking. I'll go to 34th. I'll start driving around too. That's what would make sense, is y'all would split up. Okay. And so Matt then acts like, oh man, I left my either when he got out of the car, because if you listen to his testimony, he says, when I first got there, I came down and I couldn't get through because all the first responders were there. And so then I had to back up, turn around, and go the other way. Well, I was able to show that the 6:53 a.m. still shot from the camera cruiser, or from the cruiser's camera. McCabe's already there, but guess what? His car's not in the driveway, which means his car, his SUV, is behind everything like he said he did in his testimony. He just didn't turn around right away. He parks his SUV in that driveway later on. Whose phone did Jen use when she called 911? Jen used her phone to call 911 at 6:04. Jen has her phone with her, you guys. Matt arrives to the crime scene, okay, because he went out acting like he's looking for John too. He arrives there, then he's acting like, oh my God, I forgot my phone. Or I left my phone in the car. Here, give me yours. Because Jen, when she called her sister, was like, oh my God, get Brian. Okay, we can't really make out what she's saying. And her sister clearly says, Brian's not here. He's not in bed. I don't know where he's at. And then Jen calls back and says, she's like, call him. I don't know where he's at. Then Jen realizes that she doesn't have his number in her phone, calls her sister back and says, I don't have his cell phone number. Send it to me. Or what is it? Then that's when she programs it in at 6:08 and whatever seconds. Then the police arrive. So she doesn't have an opportunity to call him because the police are there. So she's going to be with the police. And then Matt McCabe brings his happy fat ass right there and gets on up to where Jen is. Gets into the cop cruiser car. So does Karen. And she says, hey, call Brian. I don't know where Brian's at. And he's like, oh, here, I don't have my phone. It's in the car. Or it's like, oh, I left it back in my, give me yours. Give me your phone. Give me your phone. But he either said one of two things, which was he left it back in his SUV, here, give me yours, or I left my phone completely at the house, you know? And so he then takes her cell phone, and then while she's sitting, because her watch isn't moving for 7 to 9 minutes, the phone starts moving, and Matt walks away, and boom, 6:22, house long to die. And he doesn't spell it right, so he has to write it again, okay? And then so after he gets hurry up and gets that Googling away from them, then at 6:23, while the iWatch is not moving and the phone is, Matt McCabes, he calls Brian Albert's phone. That's the 6:35, or I'm sorry, the 6:23 phone call from Jen's phone to Brian, Uncle A, whatever. Then, so that would prove right there that Jen McCabe, when she's saying, so she's covering for her husband here and saying, yes, I did it in the morning because your client told me to. That's a lie. That's a lie. And when you show that, it's like, okay, then why did you Google that when you're not clearly moving, but your phone's moving, because it's not you? And then the stamping to prove that is that at 6:35 a.m., Matt McCabe calls himself, okay? 19 seconds. Then it's at 6:35 and 3 seconds. 19 seconds takes you to 6:22. Or I'm sorry, 6:35 and 22 seconds. Then Jennifer McCabe, her watch within 10 seconds, if it's truly her making that phone call, within 10 seconds of hanging up, she is walking up the stairs to go up to her sister's bedroom. And that's at 6:35 and 33 seconds. Well, guess what didn't go up the stairs? Her iPhone. And if you made the 6:35 call to your husband, was on the phone with him for 19 seconds, you'd have the phone in your freaking hand, in your jacket pocket, you'd have it on you. And so when you're going up the stairs, your watch would have it, and so would your phone. But guess what? Go look at the data, and the iWatch never goes upstairs. Boom. Now, here we go. This is very, very important for Karen Reed's case. And you guys, it's not the way that people, this isn't saying that this just enhances everything. Like you wouldn't believe. Matt McCabe you know what Matt McCabe testified to? Oh yeah, how did you find out, Mr. McCabe, that John was found? And oh yeah, my wife called me. And so I got up out of bed, I finished getting ready, and then I drove over. And so he creates these fake calls to himself to make it seem like that's exactly what happened. And that's that 6:35 call. That's that first fake phone call to him. I mean, it's not a fake call, but it's designed to make it seem exactly what. And so that should tell you guys everything. If Matt McCabe knows that he has to create all of this shit, okay, it's because Matt McCabe knows everything already. This is earth-shattering for the Commonwealth. This is what could potentially get you the CDRs, which are called detail records of Matt McCabe. Now, first point that they want to talk about, Canton Police Department surveillance video. They put the blame, you guys, straight on Canton Police, which I believe is correct. This cover-up began at 1:30 the cover-up technically between 134 and 227. When you got to start thinking about it. So in 2022, the Commonwealth provided the defense with approximately 90 crime scene services photographs depicting the condition of the defendant's vehicle in the Canton Police Department, Sallyport. Further provided to the defense was ring surveillance video of the defendant's broken rear right tail light at approximately 5 a.m. And now this is interesting to say this because this is about her pulling out of the driveway after she would have backed up at 5:08. So it's interesting that he wants to say at approximately 5, the way that they're writing that. 5, Statements of witnesses who observed, but he's also trying to say that when she would have came back from searching for him because she was like going back and forth. Statements of witnesses who observed the defendant's broken taillight around 5:30. Do you know who that would be? Jennifer McCabe, Carrie Roberts. This is why what I've done is so important, because look at what they're putting into their motion. They're relying upon statements of Jennifer McCabe and Carrie Roberts and Matt McCabe. Canton Police cruiser video depicting the defendant's broken taillight at approximately 8 a.m. So this is why this is important. Matt McCabe did not drive with Jen and Karen for a reason, you guys. Okay. Hey, don't take Karen's car if there's like something wrong with it. Leave it there and ride with Carrie, or you know what I mean? Matt saying like, I just don't, Karen's vehicle was at that house at One Meadows after they left at 5:38. Anybody had access to that vehicle from 5:38 a.m. to they left at like 5:46, 5:47. Once they would have left, anybody would have had access to that vehicle on One Meadows in Atlanta. How can you say that? Well, because the ring camera footage was all it's all missing when they asked for it. Okay. So that's important, because what they talk about in here is they're like, hey, we have the Canton police because they went to the house to do a wellness check just to see if the kids were okay that were there. So the Canton police cruiser video depicting the defendant's broken taillight at approximately 8 a.m. Observations of a damaged taillight by Dighton police, which is interesting to say that because he said it was crap, An automated vehicle location data from troopers' cruisers who were assigned to the CERT team, evidencing that the CERT team was on Fairview Road before the defendant's vehicle arrived at the Canton police station. This is why this is important about having access to Karen Reed's vehicle during the time from 5:46 a.m. until 8 a.m. That time frame. Anybody had access. Because what they're saying is that here we have these CERT team members that are saying, hey, I arrived there at 4:56 p.m. and I arrived there at 4:54 p.m. Okay. Well, that's great and dandy. I don't give a shit about that, because were you there from, 11 a.m. until 4:54? And the answer is no. Was there a crime scene tape there so that you couldn't? No. So anybody could have went and done anything over there. And the answer is yes, but you have to physically have the items. And the police didn't have John's shoe. They didn't have John's hat. They didn't have the cocktail glass, nor would have known that anybody had a cocktail glass that night. But guess who did know? Ready? Matt McCabe. Ready? Higgins. The people at that house knew. In terms of not Julie Nagel, not any of those type of people. It would be, you got Brian Albert, you got Nicole, you got Julie, you got Chris, and then, like I said, the McCabes and Higgins. I'm sorry, but the person that's doing too much and is all up in everything is Matt McCabe. Higgins. Matt McCabe and Higgins were the last two people to technically talk to John or attempt to talk to John. And the reason that Higgins never got a text back after his 12:20 text is because you don't text somebody what if you're already just in the presence of them. Okay? And also it was Matt on the phone at 12:18 and 52 seconds from the Bluetooth in the car where then the phone remained. I believe that people were getting in vehicles because they were going somewhere else. And that's why John had to say where to. If it was just so simple as we're going to Brian Albert's, it would have been like, what's your brother-in-law's address? Not where to. You understand? That's so different. Okay. You don't say where to. If I know that I'm going to Brian Albert's house because Jennifer gets out of the vehicle at Waterfall before then they leave. When John's walking out, you could see her watch moves without her phone moving. And she gets out of the vehicle. She makes 56 steps, then stops for a minute, like she has a conversation, and then makes another 47 steps. Okay? That is Jen getting out of her Denali when she sees that John and going over and talking. Then walks back. And I believe in that conversation, it was, hey, well, the guys are going to go grab da-da-da-da. So that's why she was trying to say, hey, you're going to come with me. You're going to come with me because the guys were going to go somewhere else to get something, to do something really quick. And then it would be like something like that. That's why, hey, you're coming with us because they're going to go do whatever. That's why when John writes where to, that's not normal because Jen would have been like talking a mile a minute and saying, well, this is why I said you guys should do, you should come with me and but they're going to go over there to get that. And they're going to come back to 34. So then John just says where to, he doesn't say what's Brian's address. Very different. Okay. Then because there's such a cluster, all right, because when he says where to, you can't why didn't they just respond with the address? No, they have to call. And they have to call. And on that call, that's where it was like, okay, just meet us at my brother-in-law's and then you can just go there and then Matt will wait and then he'll take you and you can just ride with him over to blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's the type of conversation that would have been had because there was confusion as far as, okay, where are we going? If it was just no confusion, it's what's your brother-in-law's address? Okay. So then we're gonna talk a little bit more about that as we continue on down, but it is a fact that the 12:18 and 50-second phone call that John then makes, alleging that he's lost out of those two people's mouths, within 3 seconds of that phone call, Jennifer McCabe, because the phone call is on Bluetooth connected from her phone, that's what they testify to. Jennifer McCabe, within 3 seconds of that phone call, starts taking steps and takes 47 of them. It's like she gets out of the car because they are physically at 34 Fairview because the location services, the data shows that. And so it's like she gets out of the car and it's like here, because the plan is that you're coming here, you're going to be riding with them anyways. I'm going in to the house. So that's why she gets out and walks away. Well, guess who's outside also? So Matt's continuing to have this 36-second conversation, standing out there who just is in the driveway and who has to take a swipe of the plow with the driveway is Higgins. So Higgins did that. And then, so he's out in the driveway, Matt's out in the driveway, and then Matt's over here saying, I don't know, John's on his way. I think he went to the place that we're going, but he's coming here now. I don't know. I don't know if he's lost, whatever. I don't know, but they're on their way here. Or they're, you know, that's why Higgins then says, where you at 12:20? This is the type of shit that, and they're both, Matt and Higgins are both right there in the driveway speaking right next to the SUV that either Matt is still in and still has running because they're about to go somewhere else, because John is about to just jump in the SUV. Okay. Now, we're going to come back to all of this. You go down to this. Is why it's really, really important to, you want to show, like, the cops couldn't have planted the sneaker. The cops didn't have it, you guys. All right. Who had it? Matt. Higgins. Those are the two people that had it. The hat. Matt. Higgins. Okay. Now, the defendant has also repeatedly represented in the media that her taillight was broken at 5 a.m. by striking the victim's parked vehicle in the driveway of the victim's home, which she did. The Commonwealth has provided substantial evidence, including accident reconstruction video from its expert judge, Welcher, demonstrating otherwise. What, that she didn't hit him? Not understanding that at all. This jury clearly saw that vehicle was hit. Beyond unsupported claims and vague innuendos, the defense struggles to establish how the condition of the defendant's broken taillight in the Canton Police Department Sallyport is in fact exculpatory, or quote unquote, the most critical and highly contested issue in this case. Okay. The defense motion at 7. Despite claims to the contrary, the defense never filed a motion to preserve or in its perpetually evolving theory of the case. And I have something to say about that. Yes, your theory in a fluid case like this, when you're hand piecing me shit, there's no theories. You just follow the evidence. But as soon as you give me a piece of evidence that shows that, okay, that would be eliminated then. So the defense, by being piecemealed shit, had nothing to work with, had to wait some of this shit years. Okay? When you're going through data and they had how many people working on this case? The defense has only how many? We don't have there's no ever-changing theory. Okay? The theory is that you guys didn't properly investigate the death surrounding John O'Keefe. You took the words of the people that were in that house, and mainly Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, as the end all be all, as fact. You guys didn't take their words and then ask to see their data to corroborate it. So, like, that's how I would argue that. We don't have this. The people online, they have an ever-changing theory, right? But the defense has been trying to get information from the investigation that is just never there. So I think that's, despite claims to the contrary, the defense never filed a motion to preserve. Yes, they did file to preserve. Did the defendant specifically request prior to November 2024 surveillance video from the Canton police station? Ready? This is how you I went back and listened to Guerrero's testimony, and Alan Jackson needs to use this. Guerrero's testimony, however the fuck he says his last name, he specifically states that in his report when he wrote it up, he said that I never said that I took it from that Michael Proctor and Yuri Buchanan went to the crime scene. I said the scene. And then Alan Jackson's like, So the Canton Police Department is a crime scene? So the Canton Police Department is a scene? And he's like, well, I don't know. He's like, are you telling me that there was a crime committed at the Canton Police Department? Do you guys remember that back and forth? You're going to use Nick Guerreno's statements in your argument for this motion because of when he's over here claiming that he's getting things from the scene, because he said that Trooper Proctor and Bukaki physically were at 34 Fairview, and that's where they retrieved John O'Keefe's cell phone. Okay. And then he said, I never said, he's trying to like change up his words. And Alan Jackson is just like, or I'm sorry, not Alan Jackson. Yannetti is just like, he did a great job. Yannetti fucking handled him, man. Give props to Yannetti on this cross. So give it to Yannetti then if he's still working, because I'm sure they're going to work with the same people that they were doing the line of questioning for. But you're going to use that because Nick is claiming that the Canton Police Department and the Sallyport and everything to do with it, he was considering it a scene. So right here, what Lally or Brennan, whoever wrote this, despite claims to the contrary, the defense never filed a motion to preserve or in its perpetually evolving theory of the case, did the defendant specifically request prior to November of 2024 surveillance video from the Canton police station. We don't have to specifically request anything. You're holding evidence somewhere, right? The weapon that you want to say because it's the car, right? But more importantly, you're saying that the phone just miraculously ends up at Canton Police Department. And so Yannetti's like, we're going to get this chain of custody down. Weren't you trying to establish chain of custody with the report that you wrote, sir? I mean, these guys are going to get buried in trial too. Literally buried. I mean, the shit that Nick was saying is absolutely disgusting. So the defense claims that their February 2nd, 2022 request for quote unquote all physical evidence, including anything present on or near the decedent at the time his body was discovered, anything found at the alleged crime scene. Exactly, because we're saying it like that because just like the defense doesn't believe that the lawn where he was found was the crime scene, that's where the body was placed. Okay? Just like I don't believe that the crime scene was the basement though either. I believe that Chloe and Brian Albert get into Brian Albert's Escape or whatever the hell his SUV was, because that dog is not getting in anybody's car. When Brian Albert likes to go handle his business, he takes his dog with him because it's like a shakedown type scare tactic type shit. Like even protection, like I'm bringing my dog. No one's going to mess with us. We got to go over here. So I believe that multiple vehicles were used when they left to go do whatever it is that they were about to go do. Okay. And something went horribly fucking wrong. So then, yes, you have Chloe there. Okay. You have a plow that has the edge of when John would have gotten hit and falls back, he hits that edge of that plow. Okay. But more importantly, when this fight or whatever broke out, because I believe it was going to be listen, you're not going to disrupt what's going on here in Canton. This is how I run my area. Brian Alberton, you're going to leave my godson alone. I don't know what the fuck you're doing type of shit. Maybe trying to like joke around with them or whatever. But then Matt and Higgins start talking crazy shit about Karen Reed and Higgins and that whole ordeal. And then basically John swings on one of them for talking shit and calling basically like you're fucking a whore and blah, blah, blah. She's trying to bone, blah, 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 blah. And it just escalates. But if they were in a vehicle, like I believe that they were when they went off to take off, then you're going to be able to use what Guerreno's saying, and that you said that when you're in a vehicle, your phone can get manipulated, make it seem like you're going up and down flights of stairs, right? Because when John and Karen were in the car together, then Karen's health data would have the same type of 3 flights of stairs if you think that it's because of that, which I've asked experts, and actually, guys, it can be, but it has to be significant. Okay. You don't just hit a little bump and woo, you know. Also, it could depend on the type of service in the area. So yes, those things, you know, sure. It can also, if somebody goes to chuck somebody's phone and you throw it up in the high in the air like that, it would elevate and do a spike and hit all 3 at once, just like what happened in the Delphi case. Okay. So when anybody wants to talk about, well, Lana, your theory, how do you put, what are you going to do about John's arm? Well, because the dog, if 2-3 dudes start like going at it, and the dog gets a little bit roughed up, like gets a little bit up in there, because the dog's standing right next to Brian Albert outside, like, you know, here I am, fucking, I got my dog next to me and we're talking, and these fucking idiots, they're making it about their sex life and personal shit. I'm over here talking about business and the way that I run my town. And yeah, that's how Chloe then could have been involved. And here it's like, what the fuck? Brian Albert's over here looking at these 2 idiots like, take care of your mess. What the fuck, y'all? My dog was involved in this is because you guys all fucking, Higgins went and got into it with John. And then little Maddie Bobatty had to run his little mouth and get a couple kicks in on somebody when they're laying down on the ground, because that's the type of bitch that Matt is. You think Matt's going to swing? No. Matt's the dude that would have the loafers on kicking somebody when they were down. That's who Matt is. Okay. So next up, going down, just I also think, wait, where are we? Okay. Nevertheless, the trial prosecutor was not aware of the existence of surveillance video in the Canton Police Department's Sallyport until receiving the federal grand jury transcripts of Massachusetts State Police Trooper Michael Proctor. Prior to that, the prosecutor had not been alerted to its existence by investigating officers. So what does that mean, guys? Ready? That means the cover-up started in Canton, right? Because not only did it not get to Lally, it wasn't given to MSP, allegedly, is what he's saying here, is that Canton had it. Canton's always had it. Canton is the ones that turned it over inverted. All right. So, let's see. Okay. And I believe that that's accurate, because I believe that in the morning when, Maddie Bobatty Fofatty, if we were to ever see his phone, okay, and his call log, the reason and the only reason, you guys think about it, the only reason that the Brian Albert cell phone number was given to Jennifer McCabe, okay, is because when she called her sister and she answered it, all right, and she's like, oh my God, whatever she says, don't give a shit what she says. Like, oh my God, let me talk to Brian. Let me talk to Brian. That's like, hey, can you get Brian? Right? Nicole's like, Brian's not here. Like, looks over. Oh my God. Well, I don't know. Brian's not in bed. I don't know. Chloe's not here either. He probably took the dog outside. Okay. He probably took the dog out. I don't know. Chloe's not here either. So he's probably, I don't know, took the dog for a walk, took her outside. 9 seconds. Then Jen calls back. Because then I believe she said, call his phone. Jen calls her back because Jen doesn't have his number. And so she says, I don't have his number. What's his cell phone number? Okay. So think about that. Brian Albert is not in bed, is not with Chloe, right? Because Matt McCabe called Brian prior to that. Okay. Just like he said in his testimony that he had made calls to people that they were with that night. We've never got to see Matt's phone. And Matt saying, hey, the girl, like, they're out looking for John. Okay. And what do you mean they're out looking for John? I told you to fucking take care of this. What did you guys do? I thought you were going, what? So he's kind of, basically Matt and Higgins did an insurance piece here. Because everybody should be right about this. Why the fuck would they leave or put John O'Keefe on their own lawn, right? No, that was all Matt McCabe and Higgins is doing because they took an insurance piece out to make sure that Brian Albert, hey, you're going to protect us and no, we're not, because I believe that Albert was like, dude, this is your guys' mess. Take care of it. The whole 22-second call at 2:22. All right. Like, that's your guys' problem. Fucking take care of it. And then here in the morning, then I believe that Brian Albert was like, what the fuck? When he called Higgins at 7:00 and said, but they knew what they were doing. Matt McCabe and Higgins knew what they were doing. Okay. And they're the ones that dumped him on the lawn because they had a plan. Okay. But Brian Albert, if you think for a second, Brian Albert's running the show and calls the shot and says, yeah, dump him on my front fucking lawn, you've lost your minds. But why would anybody do that? Think about it. Who would do that? And why would they do it? And then who's had the ever-loving story of, I saw them arrive. I told Jen, she's crazy. I saw them arrive. Matt McCabe. I saw her pull up. I was looking out the window, staring out the window. That's all Matt's story that he made Jen adopt. Okay. Brian Albert doesn't say that he fucking sees people. Nicole Albert doesn't say that they see people. They're staring out the windows and shit like that. But Brian Albert knows, he fucking knows that Karen Reed didn't kill John O'Keefe. And he knows that those two dudes got into it, but Albert was right there. Then his fucking dog happens to get involved only because these fucking assholes act like assholes. And he's like, God, what the fuck? So Albert knew that he had to get his fucking dog up out of there. Okay? And that's why he and his dog, and if you look at the pictures, you guys, that's why the car is missing. There's not enough cars in the driveway if Albert is truly there. And that is why Nicole gives her sister the cell phone number, because he's not there. Call him. I don't know. The dog's not here either. He probably took the dog for a walk or took her outside. I don't know. And so then before she could then call his cell phone at whatever time, which was not done by her, the cops are arriving. So she didn't have an opportunity to then call that because she's then dealing with the cops arriving. And if you look at the time, it's exactly when Sheriff and the Scarf and those guys show up. And so Jen's dealing with that. Jen was in the dark, you guys. Jen was truly in the dark. Wait till you see what I present on Sunday. These people were in the dark until they weren't, until they were brought in because they had no choice but to bring them into cover for them then. And it's like, you have an opportunity here. Are you going to cover for your husband and the dad of your children? Okay. Or, because if you don't, then it's either Karen Reed or it's him. Them. And so where Jen McCabe's a piece of shit is Jen McCabe is a piece of shit because she's framing an innocent person. But she, to the extent, dude, you know how shocked she was to hear about these Google searches and stuff like that? You don't tell if you're like big, like to do guys in a town, and you're not telling your wives who are gossipers, okay? You don't tell them your business. You don't, think about mobsters back in the day. You think hey, come here, sugar tits. Let me tell you about this operation now. Let me tell you about how this all went down. No. You tell people I need to know. And when the time came that those hoes needed to know that we got to get these stories straight, okay, is when Alan Jackson was put on the ticket. And so do you know how pissed Jennifer McCabe's like, you fucking piece of shit. The world thinks I Googled and did all this, and I'm over here covering for your ass. And she's not lying when she says that she didn't make the 227 Google search, but she's lying. She's lying about making the ones to cover it up, because she has to say that she did those. She can't say Matt did them. You know what I mean? So then she has to lie about making those, because she was told, you're going to say that you did those at the request of Karen Reed. Oh, I see. Brian Albert knew that his dog had freaking marks on him. Okay. And Brian Albert knew his whole purpose of wanting to talk and say whatever. He wanted to get his piece out about, listen, you're not going to be snooping around into the death of your fucking partner. You're not going to be snooping around into Colin shit. You're going to knock this shit off. You understand me? That type of talk. And he could have went as far as to say, if I was you, I'd worry about your own bedroom if I was you, because your girl's over there begging for it from Higgins. That type of thing. And then shit just went, woo! Like I said, out of control. Then a fight broke out, but it was not at 34 Fairview. And on the phone call that happened with these whole supposedly butt dials, Brian Albert said, take care of your own fucking mess. Because I can, and then in the morning when you talk to those fucking assholes, you guys fucking thought to take care of your mess and put it on my motherfucking lawn? Higgins, you better get your fucking ass over to that Canton fucking police department, and you better fucking, get your boys that owe you fucking favors. I'm telling you, the guy never was here. We didn't see him after all. You're not dragging my family into this. Do whatever you got to do. I'm telling you. And then Brian Albert didn't trust anymore Matt McCabe. He didn't go over there to the house in the morning when they were interviewed by Proctor because of Jennifer McCabe. After that body was found on the lawn, and he knew that those two fucking pieces of shit put it there, Brian Albert had no choice but I can't trust what the fuck Fatty Bobaddy Maddie's going to say. I need to be there. So I got to go over, get this shit out. I'm going to go over. I got to keep tabs on these fucking people to make sure that they're not going to say shit to try to put it on me. He lost trust in them as anyone would be. If I knew that you beat somebody up and he was at a different location, and then your idea of cleaning it up was to put him on my motherfucking lawn, don't you think that you'd have a pretty big problem with that? So when everybody's like, they're all concocted, they were screaming and yelling at each other. Okay. And that's the time that Jen's heart raised for the first time to a point of 122. It was seeing and witnessing in the upstairs bedroom, because Matt McCabe, because he had Jen's phone, Jen's iPhone, her watch goes upstairs or whatever, but the phone never does. But we see Matt entering the house, and he says, oh, that's when Lank asked me a couple questions, and I asked Carrie Roberts, hey, do you want me to go with you to go pick up the O'Keefes? And she's like, no. So he like didn't get to go with that, like drive. But who knows? Maybe he did go. You know what I mean? These people just lie about everything. Anyways. Moving on. I just want to get your mind right. Let's see. I'm going to tell you guys a little story here. You guys tell me what you think. Let's see. These people are wild. Okay. Let's see. After reading the Commonwealth's position on defense motion to dismiss and seeing that Canton Police Department inverted the video, or that MSP are claiming that that's how it was given to them, inverted, and that's how MSP then gave it to Lally, then this needs to be said. Matt McCabe and Brian Higgins did so much so early on because Matt was the house law to die Googler. That means that Matt knew that John was out in the cold. He was outside at 2:27 a.m. Now, where outside is still up for debate at that time of the night at 2:27. This is how you get Matt's CDRs for a civil trial, or shit, maybe even for the criminal trial, which I don't even know if they would still be available after this much time has elapsed. I'll have to call some people. But if not, I know that you could probably go after his Google, or potentially Life 360 from the iCloud, but his Google, based off of emails that he would have had. And so therefore it would have kept location. Anything with location data in it would have been stored and saved in an iCloud. Fuck his phone at that point, because he probably destroyed that. But the iCloud, the Google, going under an email that he had at the time of the murder. That's how you'd be able to get it. Matt knows everything because Matt did everything to get in front of everything. Matt was also the last person to talk to John at 12:18 and 50 seconds on the phone from the Bluetooth call that left John's phone in the SUV with the call still in use. Matt was the last person to see John O'Keefe alive. Remember, his direct testimony was, I saw them arrive, end quote. His exact words, I saw them arrive. John's hat and shoe were on him when he got out of Karen Reed's SUV, and so therefore would be in the sole possession of someone who was at the location or with John O'Keefe after he got out of Karen Reed's SUV. This someone was Matt. Cops couldn't have planted those items. They didn't have them in their possession like they did Karen Reed's SUV. Matt planted the glass as well, because when John got out of Karen Reed's SUV, with the glass in hand because he was drinking out of it and was drinking from it as he walked on over and piled into the SUV, getting in with the guys, whether he got into Matt's SUV or Higgins' Jeep, pick your poison. Now, that whole where to text, like I've told you guys, is so just out of place. Seeing that John and Jen would have had a convo outside the Waterfall Bar because her watch shows that she gets out of her SUV when John walks out of the bar. And I think Jen was talking a mile a minute and mentioning two different places. And so when at 12:14, John says, where to? Because John would have said, what's Brian's address? Not where to. Which is why McCabes don't text back. Instead, they call. And during that time, McCabe, Jen in the car with Matt, McCabe's call after his 12:14 text is, in quotes, the boys are going to blah, 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 and getting blah, 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 and bringing it back to 34 Fairview. This is why I wanted Karen to come with us, and you go with the boys to da-da-da's house. Just come to 34 Fairview now. And then John can ride with them and, that type of talk. This is why Jen was like, you're coming with us to Karen. And John is going to go with the boys, a.k.a. Matt, from leaving the bar to try to take out that stop at 34 Fairview, then go here, go there. But at that point, it was just like, come there. You could just ride with them. This is also why Matt McCabe says John mentioned he was going to go somewhere else, close by the Waterfall Bar, and meet up with someone. That's what he said during his testimony. Now, fast forward, Matt was covering up and getting in front of it should it ever come out where these clowns were truly headed and ended up going in those SUVs that night. That was the one stop before then ultimately arriving at 34 Fairview. Then the 12:18 and 50-second call from John to McCabe, where John is supposedly having a hard time finding 34 Fairview. Well, I completely disagree, as that's the reason. I think Karen and John went to the spot where they were all going to meet, because it wasn't until a certain point where John actually puts in 34 Fairview into Waze. So when they get to where they think everyone is heading, because Karen was probably like, no, let's just go to where we were going. Like, why would we go here and do that? Like, she's like an analytical brain like me. Like, why would we do that? So I'd be like, no, we'll just go here. So when John actually called and was like, well, we're here. Like, where are you guys? Like, are you guys here? Like, we're just, no, come here. You know, that type of talk. So that's why then John puts in 34 Fairview when he was. So I need everybody to scour the internet and see over there where he punches in this address, whose houses are over there that they know, that any one of these people know. Why would, so they go to 34 Fairview. Now, Jen McCabe only hears 3 seconds of this phone call and gets out of the car and starts walking. So, Higgins, who just swiped the yard and is getting out of his Jeep or has his Jeep on waiting, goes and talks to Matt as Matt's sitting in his SUV with his window down. And he's like, I don't know, John's over. I don't know. He's lost. He'll be here in a second. I don't know. Just bullshitting him. Then that's when Higgins at 12:20 texts John and says, where are you at? Making sense? Makes sense to me. So then now picture this. Jen, since she ran inside to see Brian Jr. and say happy birthday really quick, and she comes out. Now, when she comes out, they're already all gone. Okay? And so now, how ironic is it that Matt and Higgins are both outside standing around looking and waiting on John, right? Matt then sees Karen's SUV arrive, but Higgins wants to sit here and say that the math isn't mathing. They just never showed up. This is where Matt and Higgins got their fucking stories, the split second where they got their stories crossed. And so, because if Higgins thinks that John is lost and you'd be outside looking for him and you just texted like, where you at, right? Because you're out there. You'd be outside looking around, waving them down, right? And now on the stand, you have Higgins saying the math ain't mathin', they never showed up. But Matt is saying he sees them arrive. And both of these men would be standing outside right next to each other, pretty much, right? In the driveway, at least with one man maybe still in his SUV and the car window down rolled. But this is how you know these two were doing stuff together with this case. And they did, like, it was to get the ball rolling with their case. Like, when they had like lines of up, one of them said there's something that the other one didn't. And it was that. Now, the truth is, John would take steps just after the text at 12:20. He would begin to take his steps at 12:21. Okay, so it's just after that. And literally, if you just need a couple steps and you're getting into another vehicle, right? And then, so yeah, it makes sense that people would have never seen that. And it all happens before at 12:23, the text message happens where Ryan Nagel says here to Julie Nagel, which again is after that would have happened. Okay. And he said that he saw, this SUV come up or whatever and pull up and whatnot and whatever. Yeah, exactly. But you just missed these other motherfuckers because Karen had to pull up to let these cocksuckers out of the driveway. That's why she had to pull up like that, because there was somebody backing out of the driveway, hence the Matt McCabe SUV. Hence, in front of him was the Higgins Jeep. Okay, so backs out, goes Higgins, and then here's Brian Albert, and he was in his vehicle that was off to the right as they have that third little spot over there. And they go off and are going to do whatever. Okay. And then if you listen to Karen Reed's voicemails, this would all make sense, because Karen Reed does not know where John is. She would not be saying that she does not know where he is, you guys, when she would have just left him at 34 Fairview. Okay. Everyone's looking for you, John. Nobody knows where you're at, John. So, moving on. Then we get to the good golden nuggets here. All right. Okay. Now, Matt and Higgins would be protected by having an insurance piece. If we go down, you go down with this type of thing. The body on the lawn of Brian Albert's was a very smart move by Higgins and Matt McCabe, as they knew Brian Albert only cares about Brian Albert. And in order for them, Matt and Higgins, to be protected completely, Matt and Higgins knew they had to put the body on his lawn and make that decision after Brian Albert told them to take care of their own problems. And that was the 2:20 a.m. phone call. Matt used Jen's phone to do all the Google searches and then called himself to make it seem like he was notified later about John being found at 34 Fairview, and most of all, to make it seem like he wasn't at the scene yet, which he truly was. He was there no later than 6:17 and 50 seconds, and now seeing that Massachusetts State Police is saying that John O'Keefe's phone is moving for the first time at 6:15 and some odd seconds and 52 seconds, that lines up perfectly with John's phone being taken out of a Faraday bag that was in the SUV of none other than Matt McCabe. Matt was doing all of this with Jen's phone because he truly thought his phone would be examined as it should have been. But never thought that Jen's would have been. Or if it was, that it would just be the phone calls and texts, until Higgins told Maddie in person, because I believe that Higgins either slept at McCabe's or didn't sleep at all that night. And so therefore he said, did you Google how long to die in the cold with Jen's phone last night when we were all sitting there talking, what did you do? We have to retrace our steps. What the fuck? He may not have said just like that, but what is anything that you Googled? Because they know Higgins knows how to cover up a crime. Higgins knows what you would need to prove a crime. Like, he knows what the fuck they're doing. And so he told Matt McCabe, okay, listen, you need to go and get that phone and you need to retype it in so that it will look like you typed it up. Like, they would know that. So he's telling him to go and do that. All right. And so therefore he said, did you go blah, Jen's blah, blah, blah. So shit, Maddie, you got to go get that phone before the cops do and Google it again now. So it will look like it happened later. And also with Karen now not knowing shit, and she it'll look like that Jen told her to Google it. And so he does what Higgins says, and Higgins says, I'll meet you at the house, and act like Brian just told me about finding John. We will see how Brian talks in front of the cops and Jen and his wife and his kids. We ain't going down for this man. Them as the family and that Jen, we're not, no, like that type of talk. Okay. Everybody started had to keep tabs on everybody because nobody was trusting anybody. No. And so trust me, Higgins wasn't at CPD all day for Brian Albert. Higgins was there for himself. As the motive as to why anyone would have a reason to pounce on John O'Keefe would be Higgins because of his and Reed's relationship. And he knew that. As far as Matt goes, he has always hated John O'Keefe because the simple fact of the matter is that his wife loved the dude. Matt could have saved John O'Keefe. Higgins could have saved John O'Keefe. And Brian Albert could have saved John O'Keefe, but they let him die. And then they framed Karen Reed. No one else at that party could have saved John O'Keefe because no one at that party knew what happened. To all those party goers, yes, it's true. The guy never came inside. And yes, it's true. The guy wasn't on the front lawn when they left. And this is why a jury should say not guilty, because the Commonwealth's own witnesses have John O'Keefe unaccounted for from 12:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. The evidence supports that regardless how he obtained those injuries, the fact remains consistent that John O'Keefe's body was placed or wound up on the lawn after everyone was gone from the house, which is after 2 a.m. The evidence supports that the Commonwealth can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that John O'Keefe suffered his injuries before 2 a.m. And so therefore the fact with the eyewitness testimonies of not seeing a body on the lawn between 12:30 a.m. and 2 a.m., that would be impossible then for it to be Karen Reed to have done anything to John O'Keefe, as Karen Reed is home at John's home between, as Nicholas Guerrero said, between 12:36 a.m. and 5:08 a.m. And then physically, she is physically with people and or on the phone with people from 5:08 to 6:04 before finding his body on the lawn. No. I believe that these pieces of who had access to the Sallyport, Higgins, all the swipes, I went back and I looked, and at 5:36, Higgins is swiped, and so is Berkey had just swiped a little bit ago. These are situations where you call in favors because you have shit on people and they're going to help you out. Or depending on what type of access you have, that you could even fuck some shit up yourself. But prior to that, the prosecutor had not been alerted to his existence by investigating officers. Promptly on April 4th, 2024, the Commonwealth provided the defendant with 9 surveillance videos in its possession, consisting of video footage of the main driveway of the Canton police station and video files entitled O'Keefe Sallyport, blah, blah, all those names. I believe that Brian Higgins, everybody wants to say that Trooper Proctor bashed up and ruined the back taillight. I believe the back taillight was crushed by Higgins and or Matt McCabe first, in an attempt to fuck with, to know what they would need. I think that it was messed with on multiple occasions. But the Commonwealth has produced evidence that since January 2022, the Sallyport camera was replaced due to its defective condition. And during the first trial, the Commonwealth called the technology director for the town of Canton to testify about surveillance video systems throughout the town. And he was subject to cross-examination by the defense. The Commonwealth filed in its certificate of compliance on April 10th, 2024, noting that to the best of its knowledge and after reasonable inquiry, it has disclosed all information. The parties were in court on Friday, April 12th to argue motions in limine. During the defendant's televised motion to admit third-party culprit evidence, Attorney Yannetti made representations about the Canton Police Department surveillance videos. He's basically saying that because this was televised, people got to see it and people heard things. All right. And because of people that heard things, then that's what alerted them that, hey, we have stuff, is what he's saying by that. Following the hearing on April 17th, 2024, Lieutenant Tully sent prosecution team members an email stating, I spoke with Chief Rafferty. She reviewed the video of the SUV arriving at CPD exists and we should have it, contrary to what defense represented on Friday. What that means is she said she saw that and she's like, I reviewed the video of SUV arriving at CPD and that it exists and you guys should have it, contrary to what defense represented on Friday. The video depicts the vehicle entering the Sallyport and crime scene tape being put up. She is putting it out on a thumb drive for us in the event we don't have it. So this is how they're trying to either cover for them, okay, or they truly didn't have it, you know. The prosecutor had not previously received this video or knew of its existence. Subsequently, the prosecutor requested that both the Massachusetts State Police and Canton Police Department produce all relevant and material surveillance video. The Commonwealth provided the defense with surveillance video entitled Interior Sallyport Back Wall. This is what doesn't make sense to me, though. There has to be a better argument in here. Because if it's always been, and it has been, that Karen Reed was set up and this taillight was planted, right? And so it would have then, everybody would have known how important the Canton Police Department videos were that had the vehicle. So how the prosecution could sit here and say that, how would we ever think that that would be something of, you know, contention? Or it's like, what are you talking about? I want to hear that argument. I want to hear how anybody could be okay, I'll accept it as plausible that Matt and Brian broke the taillight at One Meadows. Why the first pieces were found were mostly small white pieces and the erasing of John's house video. Yeah, there you go. This would also explain the other two blood marks on John's jeans that didn't belong to John, in my opinion. It makes sense the police didn't investigate the house if they didn't take pictures to show the basement was clear if John didn't go in there. Also, I've also said this to people. You guys, if there was something that went on in that house, I want you to think about it. You would have went outside and made sure that the police don't come in your house if there was shit in the house, okay? You understand? You don't let the cops come in your house. And they could say, oh, we're the cop. Like, I mean, but there's still a chance that they could be lurking around. You know what I mean? You would make sure they don't come in your house. What it seems to me is that Brian wasn't there, nor was his vehicle, and nor was Chloe. So the one thing that he knew that he needed to get, you know, out of the area was Chloe and himself potentially. Because if his vehicle had blood inside of the vehicle when he, you know, realized that when he put Chloe back in the car, that she transferred blood of John by, you know, Paul's or whatever. Like, you motherfuckers, you put your fucking problem on my goddamn lawn. But you wouldn't let police in your house if there was anything like in there. That's why I believe that the hat and the shoe, those were in the possession of either Matt's SUV or Higgins's Jeep. And my guess is Higgins's Jeep, for the record. But I would think that the first thing that you'd be asking for if you're the defense is to say, hey, we want you to preserve all all Canton Police Department video camera, like video footage. Like that's number one if you're thinking that. Like we need to see who's coming and going from the police department once that vehicle's there, you know. So I think that would be, I can't imagine they wouldn't have done that. So Hank Brennan is saying that notably, what was produced to the Commonwealth and provided to the defense was inverted surveillance footage due to the camera's sight settings. This is insanity. Okay, but this is what was told to them. Clearly, he's putting it in here. So, notably, what was produced to the Commonwealth and provided to the defense was inverted surveillance footage due to the camera settings. Then why wasn't everything inverted? The Commonwealth did not manipulate or alter any video. But more what they're trying to say is we can't say that Canton Police Department didn't. And that's why everything I'm telling you guys based on the data has so much legs, because all of this cover-up happened way before the prosecution's office was involved, and even Massachusetts State Police. And trust me, I get it. Proctor is a piece of shit, piece of human garbage. No doubt about it. Okay? He didn't investigate the murder of John O'Keefe. But the stuff that happened before even Proctor had some opportunities, there was a shit ton that had already happened. And then so it's almost like if I'm an investigator and I show up at a place and I see, what the fuck? You know, there was just stuff that was done on his end after the fact. It's like a lot of things. There's people that were knowingly at the time that knew everything, and there's people that helped after the fact. Everybody had their little parts in it. And so clearly they didn't investigate anything to do with the taillight, because how did nobody realize that it was an inverted video if they would have glanced at it or anything? So, but they're basically blaming Canton, and I believe it is Canton. So the Commonwealth played the entirety of the corrected yet altered video, which reveals that Trooper Proctor is standing feet away from the defendant's vehicle and never touched the rear right taillight. Further omitted from the defendant's filing is the fact that Trooper Proctor's DNA was not on the right rear taillight. Even more so, what I'm trying to say is that, you guys, Proctor wasn't the person that did the taillight. Okay, that is all Brian motherfucking Higgins. Okay, that's the person that knows that they need to even do that. You get what I'm trying to say? The people that knew what they needed to complete the cover-up could only be the people that could have done something. I can't go and do something because I don't know that I would need to do that. And if you think people are just going around telling people like, oh my God, this is what happened, I need your help. That ain't being passed around. Like, no, it's like, I just need access to it because I'm going to do it myself. And I'm taking care of the problem. Like I told Brian Albert, I would be. Okay. The Commonwealth played the, okay. After the trial, a certified forensic video technician employed by the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, whoopsies. Whoopsies. Hold on, let me just download this. right, notably, okay, because this is with him and I. Where was it? Okay. The Commonwealth did not manipulate or alter any video and entered as a trial exhibit the video in the condition it was received. Contrary to the defendant's representations that the Commonwealth's intention was to mislead or to deceive the jury by introducing the inverted video, the defendant fails to mention that after the defense altered the evidence to quote-unquote correct the image to appear consistent with the human eye, the Commonwealth played the entirety of the corrected video. Let me tell you something about that corrected video. When it wants to say that it was the settings were to invert, okay, but yet like the time stamps weren't inverted, but yet the other settings of videos at the Canton Police Department weren't inverted, that should tell you everything that you need to know about somebody changing the settings and knowing that they needed to change the settings. An IT guy in Higgins saying, hey, you can go in on those and change the setting, invert the video. The SUV will be on this side then. You won't be able to see it. Okay. And then yada, yada, yada. That is Higgins and Matt McCabe type of talk right there. You understand? So after the trial, a certified forensic video technician employed by the Norfolk District Attorney's Office reviewed the surveillance footage that had been previously produced to the defense, recognizing that the video was extremely dark with minimal visible detail. The video technician clarified the video footage, and in October 10th, 2024, the Commonwealth produced to the defense clarified videos, reports detailing the forensic clarification process, associated hash values, that's where the Hank hash values comes from, and extracted still images from the Canton Police Sallyport. Furthermore, the video technician clarified video images from the Canton Police Cruiser camera footage on January 29, 2022 at 8:23 a.m. The Canton Police Department interior Sallyport front wall footage from January 29, 2022 at 6:13 p.m. and the Massachusetts State Police Crime Scene Services section photographs from February 1st, 2022, each depicting the same damage to the right rear tail light and encapsulated the images in a substantive report provided to the defense, each depicting the same damage to the right rear tail light. After trial, on August 21st, 2024, the Canton Police Department provided the Commonwealth with 2 additional videos. Video from the interior Sallyport camera on January 1st, depicting the camera captured all video in an inverted fashion to rebut the defense's suggestion that the video had been tampered with and consistent with witnesses' trial testimonies. Yes. See, this is exactly, okay, so I want you guys to understand that this is exactly what I'm saying, is that what the Commonwealth is proving is that we didn't tamper with it. This is how it was when it was recording it, okay? And this is how it was provided to us. And they're not wrong, but somebody did, all right? And that somebody is Brian Higgins. Brian Higgins had access to the Canton Police Department. Here's all these swipes, okay? And so the most important thing would be to see is, okay, well, can we go and see back in the logs? This is why they would want the logs. Can we go back in the logs and see what time frame somebody clicked to change the settings to that this camera would be recording in an inverted way? That's why Alan Jackson wanted the logs, the DVR logs, because you'd be able to go back in the metadata and see when the settings changed. Okay. And I believe those settings would have changed on January 29th. Okay. But fuck, if you can prove that those settings changed January 29th at like 1:30, 1:31, because if the person, listen to this, if the person that was on the phone with Higgins was Matt McCabe from Matt McCabe's phone telling Brian Higgins how to do it, and that's why he's on the phone with him at one, when they see him, if we could prove that it was that early, chef's kiss. Either way you slice and dice it, you show that happened on January 29th during one of the time frames that Higgins was there. That's really awesome, right? Now we know why Bev blocked the metadata. So go here. Police can't video from the interior hallway and exterior of the Canton police station that shows Brian Higgins at the Canton police station during the early hours of January 29, 2022, and depicts Mr. Higgins moving his law enforcement vehicles due to the snowstorm. These videos were provided to the defense on October 10, 2024, along with a letter from the Canton police chief noting their August 21st, 2024 production. Prior to their production, the prosecutor was unaware of the existence of these videos. Again, where were they at? Canton. The defense boldly claims that the surveillance video of Mr. Brian Higgins in and outside the Canton police station proves that he, quote unquote, perjured himself before a federal grand jury. This claim is extremely prejudicial and false, and I don't believe that it is. In support of this claim, the defense cites to the federal grand jury transcript. Further, the defense is unable to demonstrate any prejudice. Both Brian Higgins and Brian Albert were thoroughly cross-examined at trial about their phone calls with one another. See, what I've developed for the defense now is fuck talking about the phone calls between you and Brian Higgins or Brian Albert. We need to start talking about your calls and interactions with Matthew McCabe. Why put J.O. body on Albert's lawn? I'll just go back and listen back a little bit ago. I talked about it. It's an insurance policy. Both Brian Higgins and Brian Albert were thoroughly cross-examined. Great. The Commonwealth provided the defense with 167 pages of access swipe or card swipe records throughout the Canton Police Department on January 29, 2022. Mr. Higgins was cross-examined about his movements through the Canton Police Department on January 29, 2022. They need to keep it to that man, to Matt McCabe. I'm telling you. I am telling you. Nobody else was needed. Higgins had the access to the Canton Police Department, and Matt's your IT guy. On January 28, 2025, the Commonwealth provided the defense with surveillance video from the main driveway side exterior Sallyport and depicts a different camera angle of the defendant's vehicle arriving at the Canton Police Station Sallyport. Notably consistent with other videos received from the Canton Police Station Sallyport, the quality of video is poor. There is absolutely nothing depicted in this video that is exculpatory or undermines the consistent evidence that the defendant's right rear tail light was broken and pieces were missing prior to the vehicle being towed from Dighton. Prior to late January 2025, the prosecutors had never seen this video. After directing a review of all physical and data files, this video was located within a paper case file of of investigators. After inquiry, it was learned that an investigator obtained this video from the Canton Police Department in 2022, and it was placed in a physical case file and never provided to the prosecutor or multimedia assistant for download. Although the prosecutor was wholly unaware of this video until recently, the Commonwealth does not dispute that the video was in its custody during the defendant's first trial. Had the prosecutor known about this video, it would have been produced, as every other video known to the prosecutor was. Even in circumstances where the prosecutor fails to disclose evidence a defendant is entitled to receive, there must be a showing of irremediable harm to the defendant. Yeah. The defendant cannot show irremediable harm to her right to a fair trial, and it relates. I mean, if they say that, while the January 28, 2025 production was untimely, the poor quality of the video makes it difficult for either party to benefit from. Furthermore, this video depicts the same event that was contained on the surveillance videos produced on April 4, 2024 and April 23, 2024, simply just from a different camera angle. Further, while the Commonwealth would argue that the videos from the Canton Police Station Sallyport are inculpatory, the defendant benefited during the first trial by suggesting, without any substantive evidence, that the poor quality of video and or gaps in time due to an improperly functioning camera system were caused by an improper police investigation and systematic police conduct. And see, I disagree with that. There's people that are just appearing and disappearing. And in November of 2024, the defense made an informal discovery request. Okay, think about this. If Hank knows the McCabes, right? If Hank's all about the McCabes, right? Where was this leading to? It's leading to everything that Lana's just put out this past week about Matt McCabe. All right? So hanky panky, the moment that things are going to lead in a direction that would implode for Matt McCabe, what happens? The immediate cock block happens. And everybody this whole time it's Brian Albert and because the reason that Matt McCabe continues to keep benefiting is because Higgins, okay, Higgins as an officer did this. Matt McCabe's a citizen, right? Higgins ATF, Canton Police. In November 2024, the defense made an informal discovery request related to Canton Police Department videos. The Commonwealth and Canton Police Department facilitated the request, and on December 12, 2024, in the presence of the defendant's expert, it was discovered nearly 3 years after the incident that the footage on the DVR was overwritten and the system no longer maintained the original surveillance footage to be forensically extracted. This also marked the first time that the defense had made any request for metadata or logs pertaining to these videos, as neither the defense's February 2nd, 2022 nor October 5th, 2022 motions or corresponding orders make any reference to such materials. Here, the defendant fails to meet her initial burden. She has presented absolutely no evidence that a forensic copy of the Sallyport surveillance video with metadata and logs would have been exculpatory. Rather, she relies upon innuendos and unsubstantiated allegations that are speculative at best and not the equivalent of concrete evidence. And this is the stuff that I've uncovered would change that. The stuff that I uncovered would change that. Even if this court were to engage in a balancing test, dismissal would be inappropriate as there is no evidence of egregious misconduct on the part of the Commonwealth, and any potential prejudice stemming from the overwritten videos would be remediated at trial. This is what sucks. The defendant can point to no evidence of bad faith on behalf of the Commonwealth nor any of its agents. That's not true, particularly where the Commonwealth is equally aggrieved by the poor video quality and inability to obtain a forensically extracted copy of the surveillance video to fully disprove the defendant's repeated and baseless allegations of evidence tampering. See this type of shit? Statement of Jennifer McCabe's. This is why it's important, because Jennifer McCabe gets her own section. In violation of the defense's discovery order to produce all reciprocal discovery, including impeachment evidence, to the Commonwealth prior to the start of trial, it was during the third week of trial on May 7th, 2024, that the defense produced reciprocal discovery to the Commonwealth regarding location information of Jennifer McCabe's cell phone. 3 days later, on May 10th, in anticipation of her trial testimony, the Commonwealth met with Jennifer McCabe, as it does with all of its witnesses. This is a report that I read you in the beginning. On May 29th, 2024, Lieutenant Tully wrote a police report memorializing the meeting and explained, when asked, why her cell phone would have been in the area of the residence of Sergeant Link. Okay. Jennifer stated she was with Carrie Roberts, who was picking up her daughter at the residence, and clearly that changed. Okay. Jennifer did not speak with Michael Lank while at the residence. Now think about this. When she has to say to herself, oh, I didn't even know that I was there. Oh, I must have been there with Carrie Roberts' daughter, blah, blah, blah. Right? Well, we know how Jennifer is, and we know that Jennifer's she'll stay in the car and her husband will be off running around with her, her phone and shit, God knows what. But they met at Michael Lank's house, and they're claiming, remember the text before that? It was, hey, we don't want to text, because Nicole says, hey, I don't want to text on here, blah, blah, blah. And we'll find out more information tomorrow. Okay? I don't want to text. We'll find out more information tomorrow. And then the answer to that is right. Like that. You guys, I don't even know if that was Jennifer McCabe texting. Everybody's all under this thing like, I'm sorry, but Matt seems like behind the closed doors, he's he's just a little puss platter. Jennifer not speak with Michael Lank. I'm sure. And they used Jennifer's phone to call Michael Lank, because remember, they never thought that her phone would ever be taken. We have no idea who was on that phone call, Michael Lank. So you just have all the Canton people lying for. On June 18, 2024, in response to the same claim raised by the defense, the prosecutor explained to the court that Miss McCabe met with Lieutenant Tully, looked at some video, and was asked a single question. But it was never, we never knew that Matt McCabe went there. Okay. Matt McCabe went there with her. That report wasn't available. I didn't have it until after Miss McCabe testified, but it was given to counsel prior to Lieutenant Tully testifying, and they're saying you could have asked Tully all about it. On May 21st, 2024, Ellen Jackson vigorously cross-examined Miss McCabe, and she detailed her reasonings for being in the driveway of Sergeant Lank's home on January 30th, 2022. During cross-examination, Attorney Jackson elicited testimony that it was Lieutenant Tully who asked Miss McCabe an open-ended question of, did you go to Michael Lank's on January 30th? Attorney Jackson then questioned Miss McCabe about whether there were any follow-up questions or whether the Commonwealth revealed the defense's report. Ms. McCabe testified that neither occurred. Notably, the Commonwealth produced Lieutenant Tully's report once it was available to the defense prior to Lieutenant Tully's testimony. Lieutenant Tully was available to be cross-examined. They were never going to release that unless Ellen Jackson didn't catch it and wasn't quick on his toes, because she knew about it. when asked about it. Lieutenant Tully was available to be cross-examined about his recent meeting with Jennifer McCabe or any perceived inadequacies in the investigation related to Ms. McCabe's phone's whereabouts. The defense declined to do so. That's what I couldn't believe. Go back and watch Tully's. I watched it again last night. Go back and watch Tully's cross-examination with Alan Jackson. I was expecting him to go to so many areas of it, okay? And he didn't. Yes, Pat, absolutely. I remember that. Higgins distances himself from the others too. Remember Brian Albert texting him, calling him out on it. Yeah, but that's just the version that we've heard. But what if it was like they distance themselves from Higgins, So let's see. Furthermore, on May 22nd, I couldn't believe this. I thought they were going to just recall her, but then I was like, Jesus. Furthermore, on May 22nd, 2024, Carrie Roberts testified. Mrs. McCabe had testified one day prior that she had accompanied Carrie Roberts to Sergeant Lank's driveway. The defense relinquished their opportunity to cross-examine Ms. Roberts about the event at Sergeant Lank's home, let alone ask her one of only a few witnesses a single question. Remember, they did not cross-examine Carrie Roberts at all. Carrie Roberts is lying about finding John O'Keefe's motherfucking phone and that she gave it. I mean, damn. However, most enlightening on the defense's lack of prejudice is that on June 18, 2024, Alan Jackson stated during the trial that the Commonwealth interviewed Jennifer McCabe, apparently had a full interview with her. Lieutenant Tully took a report, dated the report, and then the Commonwealth, held on to that report until after she testified. The interview, the report, and the completion of the report were all done before her testimony. See Defendant Exhibit O. Immediately, the court offered, do you need to call her again? Attorney Jackson responded, no, Your Honor, I'm not. That's not. And I think the court understands that's not my point. My point is not that I need to call Jennifer McCabe back. I've done the damage that needs to be done on Jennifer McCabe. And this is where Alan Jackson is going to change course, I am telling you guys, with how he is going to handle Matt and Jen. Because the evidence when isolated takes you a different way. So, but this is hilarious though, because he says it, I think the damage is done on her, and then here's Bev. I'm sorry, I missed that. You've what? I've done the damage that needed to be done on Jennifer McCabe. I don't need to call her back. So when given the opportunity to remedy any perceived prejudice, the defense declined to do so. Trial court security jury dismissal. The defendants claim that a lieutenant of the Massachusetts State Police was in charge of jury security is patently false. At no time did Lieutenant Fanning have contact with, nor control or influence over the trial jury, nor was there, quote-unquote, jury tampering that deprived Miss Reed of her constitutional right to a fair trial. The defense's brazen misrepresentations previously proffered in the media interviews in direct violation of the impoundment order of juror discussions and sidebars, solely to mislead the public and jeopardize the integrity of the judicial proceedings, are false and dishonest representations. So, I really don't have much to say about this. I'm sorry, but I want to see that come out. I want to hear what this is about. On February 17, 2025, Boston 25 News aired an interview with the defendant and Attorney Jackson, where Attorney Jackson stated that Lieutenant Fanning was the, quote-unquote, very person governing the jury. Attorney Jackson also stated, despite representations in this court filing, that he had, quote-unquote, no specific evidence of jury tampering. Audio and video of an interview available at YouTube. I love people quoting YouTube now. Blank, blank, blank. However, conveniently omitted from the defense's filing and extrajudicial statements is the following from ADA McLaughlin. Yeah. The defendant's preposterous claim, one that Attorney Jackson has stated he had no specific evidence of, should be rejected outright. And that leaves us here with, we're going to end it here. You guys, it is all about he said, she said. And how you can get to the bottom of he said, she said is by putting people not in the place of to be able to hear he said, she said. You want to use the data. So on Sunday night, I'm creating a 1-hour special dedicated to prove that there's a section of Tully's testimony, a section of Nick Guerrero's testimony, and a section of Jennifer McCabe's testimony that I'm going to highlight and use to then show why it is imperative, okay, to really look at this data, give it to Green, and then give it to a timeline expert or, a forensic Green, that's what Green does, and someone in his field. And they need to create an Excel spreadsheet to show that if Jennifer McCabe said this at this time, where is her phone indicating that or where does her watch indicate that she is? Is she moving? No. But her phone is moving. Yes. So during the time frame of House Long to Die in the Cold that she Googles at 6:22 in the morning, is the evidence indicative of her Googling that? No, because as you can see here, her steps cease. And she doesn't move for another, X amount of minutes, 9. Okay. But her phone during that time is moving and taking steps. And you have no reason to believe that she's in a car driving up and down, right? No, we see her on, she's not visible anymore in the dash cams because she's in one of the cruisers. Okay. So she's sitting down, which is what the watch is showing. But her phone is moving. That's correct. And so during that time frame, her phone is moving, right? Mm-hmm. And what is it doing? Well, whoever has her phone Googled the House Long to Die twice and then called the Uncle Brian phone. Yeah. How do you make the best and easiest visual aid for this? I'm working on it. It's a minute. But people need to spread that far and wide because it will destroy everything that they're claiming. No one's in a bedroom. No one's getting woken up to chat, chat, chat. I mean, that's insanity. The phone's downstairs. Jennifer McCabe goes upstairs in her sister's house to supposedly wake them up, and only her watch goes upstairs. Her iPhone doesn't, which also is after getting off of a call, supposedly with her husband, and immediately 10 seconds later, she's walking upstairs. And your phone would be with you if you truly made that call at 6:35, but you didn't. And what's indicative of that is that you're going up a flight of stairs with your watch and your phone isn't. The little blurb that you guys see where they're asking, hey, Jen, is that you walking up to the door? Like earlier, what's going to come out, Matt McCabe wanted to see the cop cruiser vehicle for a reason. He wanted to see if the cruiser had him and what timestamps the cruiser had him. And what I proved is that at 6:53 in the morning, I took a still image of the cop cruiser showing a very clean picture of the driveway. And Matt McCabe's vehicle is not in the driveway. It's because but he's inside. It's because his vehicle is parked on the side of the road behind all of the cruisers, just like he said he did. He said he arrived and came down like normal, but he couldn't get through. And then he's like, oh, and then I turned around and went around everything. You definitely did that well after 6:50 in the morning. And this is what's amazing, because he says he does it right away. He says he couldn't get down, so he turns around, then he drives around, he says these side streets, and he's like, yeah, but then I came around this way, and then I pulled into the driveway. And then what Alan's going to be able to do is show them a picture of the dash cam, okay? And show at 6:53, do you see your vehicle there? No. But you'd already been there, but you're there right now. And you're inside the house, right? Because you're having a conversation with Officer Lank. Isn't that correct? Where's your vehicle, Matt? So it's not true when you told this court last trial that you pulled up, you couldn't get through, and that you drove around and then pulled into the driveway like that. That wasn't an accurate statement. And you wanted to see your dash cam last year when you met with Tully. Isn't that correct? So what time did you really arrive at 34 Fairview, Matt? And so then let's break it all down like this. And that's how you do it. And so, people think phone watch data is pristine, absolute, and without certain drift or other impurities. There's definitely going to be impurities, okay, but not so much consistently on January 29th. I mean, it's every time that something is happening, that it is like the Google searches, it's the phone moving without the person moving on both of those occasions. Every time that she's going upstairs, that her phone should be with her, it's not registering. I mean, that's what you show. And you show that Matt made the Google call, the Google searches, and then you're able to then 150% prove that they knew the knowledge that Matt had to have been way earlier, because he wouldn't have known, right? The whole, I Googled it because Jen or Karen told me Google hypothermia, see how long it takes to die in the cold. Okay. Yeah, no. And listen to Jen McCabe's testimony. She couldn't answer one question of what came up when you Googled it, because the bitch don't know, because the bitch didn't Google it. You need Jen McCabe, and you need to go after Matt McCabe. Okay. He did it all. All right, guys. See you on the flip side. Peace. Irish goodbye. Thank you guys, all of you guys that became members. Karen, Patty, woohoo! Bowl Cut Lamp Cam member, all you guys, look at you. Ooh, I didn't see this one. The Commonwealth response is chef's kiss. Every lawyer who has reviewed it so far are flabbergasted they filed this motion. This Commonwealth response is chef's kiss. You think it's good? I think it's a good motion. Sometimes when you play chess, you got to put things in to make a move. Don't that white SUV, that's what the McCabes have. White/pearl. Jen. All right, guys. Peace out.